there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. A few weeks ago, I showed you how to make the prismatic ring. Well, today we're going to take that ring and add a couple more steps to it and make it into a beautiful pendant. Now, the great thing about this pendant, it's a smaller pendant. So if you like small things, you can definitely wear just the pendant itself. Now, I'm also going to show you how to make your own bead cap to match the pendant, where we're going to hang a tassel down from, so it'll add some length to the piece. So if you like bigger things, then that'll work out for you as well. Now for me and for some of my employees, we like this prismatic pendant, as an earring as well. So, if you, like bigger earrings, then this may be your way to go for an earring. But basically what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to make a prismatic ring component. So you'll need to go back to my video from 2 weeks ago and look at that video. Now, how you get back to that is you're going to go to youtube.com/user, USER /off the beaded path. Then you'll click on videos. YouTube automatically puts the videos in order from newest to oldest, unless you change those preferences. So all you'll have to do is go back a few videos to find that prismatic ring. Now, you'll want to go ahead and make that little component, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the video. If you want a good completed materials list, be sure to watch the end of this video, or check right below me in the little box. There's a little drop down box you can look at, and it has the completed materials list. Also, be sure and check out the end of my video, because I've got to show you this really cool thing that my friend Vera made for me that I think you guys are going to love. So I'm going to go ahead and work on my ring component and go ahead and get it where it needs to be to show you guys how we're actually going to make this into a pendant. So here is my prismatic ring component. As you can see, I have stopped with the little picots, the little size 15 picots. I've not done anything along the bottom. And I have stepped up to where I'm coming out of the middle bead of my first set of 3 that I added. At this point, I'm going to be using my little 3mm bicones. So you're going to pick up a 3mm bicone, a size 15 seed bead, and a 3mm bicone. And then you're going to go through the next middle seed bead of the next point. So it's going to make a little, almost like a half bow across that 4mm. So it's a 3mm, a size 15 seed bead, and a 3mm, and you go through the middle bead of the next set of 3. And you're going to do this working all the way around, just picking up your 3mm, your 15, and your 3mm, and going through the middle bead of that next set of 3. And you're going to do this all the way around. Once you're all the way around, this is what your piece will now look like. And as you can see, I am coming out of my middle bead here of my little picot of 15s. So I'm going to continue on through the next 3mm, 15, and 3mm. Now, we want to pick up an 11 and go through the next 3mm, 15, and 3mm. And then an 11 and go through the 3mm, the 15, and the 3mm. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going through and we're putting an 11 in between these 3 sets of 3 beads. So you're going to do this all the way around, and when you get back around, you want to be coming out of that size 11, first size 11 seed bead you added. So as you work this round, you'll notice that these 3mm are kind of flimsy. Well, we're going to be doing something with these size 11 seed beads that's going to help to strengthen the whole piece overall and make those little beads nice and stiff against the piece. So I'm coming out of an 11. I'm going to pick up 3 11s, and I'm going to come back through the same 11 that I'm coming out of to make a circle. Then I'm going to continue on through the next 3mm, 15, 3mm and 11. So what's going to happen is there's going to make a little right angle weave box, or a little picot, whatever you want to call it, right above that 11 seed bead. Now we have to do this all the way around. So it's 3 11s. I'm going to come back through the 11 that I'm coming out of so that it makes a circle, and then continue on through the 3mm, the 15, the 3mm, and then the next 11. Now if you can't get through all those beads at one time, that's not a problem. You can do it one at a time, but you just want to go around adding these little picots all the way around. So once you've gone all the way around, now your piece is looking like a really pretty snowflake. So this could be a fun little winter project, I guess, if you wanted to leave it like that. But we're going to go ahead and keep going with what we've got. So after this, I added this last little set of 3. I continued on to come out of the 11. Now we want to get in position to start the next round. So all I'm going to do is come through 2 of those 11s that I added in that set of 3. So I'm going to be coming out of this top 11 here. Now I'm going to flip this over, and you will want to manipulate these little picots to the back of your piece. I'm coming out of the 11 here. I'm going to pick up 2 11s, and I'm going to go through the middle bead of the next little picot, that little point bead. I gotta move that needle. Okay, there we go. So that when you pull it, this is going to pull to the back of your piece. So we want to work around putting 2 beads on and then going through the next middle bead there of the next picot. And what this is going to do is this is going to help strengthen our piece a little bit as to a pendant. And it's going to help these little 3mm be more secure and not as wobbly. Yes, I said wobbly. Oh, that'll go right up there with wonky, I guess. But you're just going to continue around until you've made a circle with all of these, and then you're going to go back through that circle of beads once more to pull it all together and tight. So once you've gone around and completed the back, this is what the back will now look like. Okay, so this is going to help, so that way, like if you wear this up against your skin, it's not going to be scratchy whatsoever with those bicones. So that's going to help with that factor. But now when you flip it over to the front, these little 3mm are secure now, and they're not wobbly whatsoever. So I have stitched up to exit out of a 3mm, a 15, and a 3mm. So I'm coming out of a 3mm here along the outer edge. I'm going to pick up 3 15s, and I'm going to skip the 11 and go through the next 3mm, 15, and 3mm. Now you will not be able to get through all 3 of these beads at the same time this go round, because this beadwork is very tight now. So you'll just have to go through 1 or 2 beads at a time. So 3 15s, go through the 15, or sorry, the 3mm, then the 15, and as you can see, you cannot use a size 10 needle on this, and look at that, my thread just broke. Now that's the only thing with these little 15s, I'm sorry, these little 3mm here, because of these edges you have to be very, very careful. And see, I just pulled and broke that thread. So it's gonna happen, guys, if you're not careful, like I was not careful there. You want to pull the thread straight out of the bead and not up out of the bead like I just did. So let me pull this back out and get me some more thread started. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and do that here on the video so you guys can see how I did that. I know that this thread is actually secure because I've gone through this several times. So I really don't have to do anything with this thread. And I'm going to grab my thread zapper and get rid of this little thread. Okay, So I got rid of that little thread that I had, and I'm going to go ahead, first I inspected my thread to make sure my thread was still good, and it is still good to use. If it was frayed or anything like that, I would have definitely not used the thread. I would have switched over and got some new thread, but this one is looking pretty good. So let me, okay, I'm going to leave about a 3-inch tail, and then I'm just going to start this process again. I'm going to pick up 3 15s, skip the 11, and go through the 3mm, the 15, and then the 3mm. And if my thread breaks again, then I will know that I have a super sharp 3mm in this little area, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it except for taking that, taking the rows back out to that point. And when we use crystals, that's just a precaution that we take. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to go around, adding my little picots around these edges. And the picots won't lay completely flat. They'll lay up to a point just a little bit. Let me see if I can turn it here so you can see it. So see, they won't lay completely flat. They'll lay up just a little bit, and that's completely fine. That's how the design is. So don't stress out if you can't get all those little picots completely flattened down. But you'll just want to continue to work adding these little picots. And now you have 2 choices. You can either just thread a needle onto this end and stitch through some beads, or when you get back around, you can tie the tail and work and thread together. It's completely up to you and how you want to get rid of that tail. For me, I'll just stitch this tail in and not worry about it. So I've now gone all the way around, and I've gotten rid of the other 2 threads, or the other thread that I had. So I've stepped up by coming out of 2 beads of a set of 3 here along the outer edge. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be using my size 15 seed beads, and I'm going to pick up 6 of those. I'm going to come back through this size 15 that I'm coming out of to make a circle. Now I'm going to go through this circle of beads several times to reinforce, and then I'm going to stitch through and get rid of this thread. Now that you have the pendant component completed, we're going to make the bead cap to hang the tassel down from. So I'm mainly going to be using my little 3mm bicones at this point, so I'm going to pick up 4. I'm going to let these drop down, and I've got about a yard of thread on my needle. This is new thread that I've cut. I'm going to go back through all 4 of those beads again, and then tie these beads into a circle. Now once they're tied into a circle, I'm going to go through the 3mm right next to the knot. Pick up 3 3mm, go back through the bead you're coming out of so that it makes a circle. And then I'm going to go through the next 2 beads that I added, which is going to be this one and this one. So through here and here. Now 3 3mm. Come back through the bead that I'm coming out of so that it makes my circle. Go through 2 beads that I just added, so I'm going through this bead and this bead. That's 3 little boxes. Got to make 1 more, so I'm doing 3 3 millimeters. I'm going to come back through the bead that I'm coming out of so that it makes my circle. And then I'm going to go through 2 of those beads. So I have 4 right angle weave boxes. Now I'm going to fold this piece together to make a 5th box. So I'm going to pick up 1 3 millimeter. My thread is coming out of the 3 millimeter here on the right. I'm going to take my needle and go down through the 3 millimeter here on the left. Then I'm going to pick up 1 3 millimeter, and I'm going to go up through the 3 millimeter here on the right. And then I'm going to go through those beads of that last box one more time to reinforce them and keep them together. So right now this is looking like a whole little squished mess, okay? This is actually what we have. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that little tail there. Now we want to come out of any of the beads here along the top. You can see we have 5 beads, so I'm going to go right through one of those beads there. Now we have to work another row of right angle weave off of this row, and we have to use the 11s because we want to go down in size. So we're going to pick up 3 11s, and I'm going to go back through the 4 millimeter that my thread's coming out of to make a circle. And this is exactly like our encasement that we did for the center of the Chaton, just using different size beads. So I'm going to go up through that 11 right where my thread is coming out. Now I'm going to pick up 2 11s. I'm going to go to the next 3 millimeter, and I'm going to go through that bead, and then the 11 that I'm coming out of. Then I'm going to go through the 2 beads that I just added. And then the next 3 millimeter along the top edge here. Okay, then 2 11s. I'm going to come down through the little side 11 here of my previous box, and then through the 3 millimeter that my thread's coming out of. Now I'm going to go up through the 3 millimeter, the 11 right where my thread's coming out. Now I want 2 11s. I'm going to come to the next 3 millimeter, and I'm going to come back through that bead, working back towards the beadwork, and then through the 11 that my thread is currently coming out of. Now I'm going to go through the 2 11s that I just added, and then through the next 3 millimeter here along the top edge. Now, as you can see, I've got beads here all along the top except for this last one. This is my last little box, so I'm going to go up through the bead here on the right, pick up 1 11, and go down through the bead over here on the left to finish out that last little bead. Now, I'm going to go through the 3 millimeter, then through the 11, and then the 11 that I just added. So this one right here on the top. Now, I'm going to go through the 5 11s here on the top, and I want to pull these together. This is like just think of this as the 15s on your little Chaton encasement. We want to pull these beads together so that they will be nice and closed, and our head pin or our mock head pin that we're going to make won't come through it. So you want to make sure you got a good tight little circle here. of those 5 beads. Now, once you're certain about that little circle of 5 beads, then you're going to stitch down to come out of any one of the little vertical 3 millimeters. So let me stitch down through here. Okay. Alright, so now you can see where my thread's coming out. And you're going to be using your 15s, and then you're going to be using some little 3.2 Montees. So these are the smaller size Montees. So my thread is coming out away from the beadwork. So I'm going to pick up a 15, a Montee, and a 15. I'm going to go to the next middle bead, and I'm going to go through that bead from left to right. Okay, so left to right. And that Montee is going to lay diagonally across that little box of beads. Okay, so I'm going to do this all the way around. A 15, a Montee, and a 15. I'm going to come to the next center bead here, and I'm going to go from left to right, or from the beadwork away from the beadwork. And again, you just kind of have to flip your Montee and make it lay right way. If it's not completely the right way, it's okay, because we're going to go back through them again. So a 15, a Montee, and a 15. Go through the next middle bead here. And these Montees help to kind of give shape to this piece as well. So that's the good thing about doing it like this. Okay, so I'm on my last little one adding the Montee. So I've got my 15, my Montee, and my 15. And I'm going to go through that last little 3 millimeter. So far, this is what the piece is looking like. Now, I'm going to be working in the opposite direction, so I'm going the opposite way. So I'm going to pick up a 15. I'm going to go through the other hole of the Montee, and then a 15, and go through the next middle 3 millimeter. So that when I do that, you can see now that it finishes out that little X shape for the Montee. So a 15, and go through the other hole in the Montee. And then a 15, and go through the next middle 3 millimeter here, so that it finishes up that next little X shape. So 15, go through the Montee, and then a 15, and go through the middle 3 millimeter here on the base. And you can see it's pulling together now. So 15, go through the Montee, 15, and then through the 3 millimeter, 15, go through the Montee, and now 15, and go through the middle 3 millimeter. So now I have gone all the way around, adding my little Montee embellishments to my little tiny bead cap I've made. So at this point it looks like a whole lot of nothing, but you are going to see how this is going to transform into a neat little cap for our tassel. Now, I've taken about 6 pieces of chains, and I have cut them 2.5 inches long each. Now, this is very, very fine, like a 1.5 curved chain, or you can use a Rollo chain or whatever you want to use here. But I've gone ahead and I've used 26 gauge wire and made myself a little wrapped loop here that I attached these to. Now, how I did that was I took my 26 gauge wire and I bent that wire just like this, and then I bent the wire back towards itself like this, so that now I could just thread my chain on there and then pinch the loop closed and wrap it, so that I had that wrapped loop just like I have here on this one. Now that you have that, what you're going to do now is just actually assemble the piece. So you're going to take and thread the wire through your little bead cap that you've got made, and you'll want to pull it down so that the loop there is to the inside of our little bead cap. Then thread on a little 3mm bicone. If you want to, you could also do a 4. But then we are going to bend this wire. Now we want to make a small circle, okay? But here's the deal. We're going to take this little tiny piece of wire and we're going to thread it through this 15 right here, directly across from where we added the loop to hang the pendant from. Okay, so I want it to be a fairly small little tiny loop here, and then it's just a matter, once you have that done, it's just a matter of taking and wrapping this little piece of wire here till you meet the crystal, and then we get rid of it. So that now your chain tassel is attached to make your pendant. Now I've actually taken mine and added, let me bring this one here so you can see, I put on just a little 6mm twisted jump ring here and just put mine on a longer piece of chain, and so you can definitely do that. You can totally leave this off and just make a shorter necklace with a pendant if you wanted to as well. It's completely up to you. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make the prismatic pendant. Before I go, I wanted to show you something that my friend Vera made for me, and I absolutely am loving it. It's these cute little needle pillows. This one says hot mess, and the cool thing about these is that Vera was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about them because it's kind of tough, because these right here, guys, are amazing. You can wash these, just chunk them in the washing machine if they get dirty or you spill anything on them. But the actual, this is made out of like a suede material. Let me find her exact specifications that she said. Yeah, this is like an ultra suede, and it's almost like the upholstery ultra suede, like it's a really, really thick, nice ultra suede. So the thing I love about it is I've got my needle here, and when you first start to use it, it's a little bit hard to get it pushed down in there. But once you get this down in here, the awesome, awesome, awesome thing is your kids can play, your cats can play, and your needle isn't gonna come out. That's what I love about it. So you don't have to go hunting for needles because they're not gonna fall out of your little pillow. I'm loving these. So as you can see, she's made one that says wonky. And here's one she made. It says lots of knots. Lots and lots of knots. She's even made some smaller ones, some more little compact ones that I love, 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 love. Here's another little hot mess that she made. She's done all sorts of these that I am loving. These are going to be for sale on our website, offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. These are $8 for each of these little ones, and like I said, they are great because they, number one, they're handmade and with sayings that I say all the time. And the great thing about them is, like I said, you can throw these in the washing machine if they get you know, dirty or anything like that. You don't have to spot clean them because they're washable. That's the cool thing. And like I said, the first couple of times you use them, it is, you do kind of have to push your needle down in there. But once you get that needle in there, guys, it ain't coming out till you pull it out. So that is the awesome thing about these little things. So again, we'll have these on our website along with the kits for this prismatic pendant at offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com. Guys, thanks so much for watching.